Welcome back, League Nighters. We are back today with what everybody's probably been waiting for, is another pitching video. Everybody loved the first one. We're super happy you guys like it. We're gonna do more pitching content in the future starting today. So we have more than just our buddy, you remember last time, Uncle Jamie. We've got our buddy Ski, Uncle Jamie, Jay-Z, and Jason, but he doesn't know how to pitch, just like me. So we don't know what we're doing. That's why we bring in the experts. So we're gonna check out today. I think we're gonna be looking at sliders, pitches that move basically from throw side to glove side. So we wanna have those checked out. We want you guys to learn some things, and hopefully we see a lot more sliders out there during league night. So let's check it out.
Send us your cave videos using the slider.
That's right.
We'll make you social media famous. All right, guys, so as we mentioned, today's podcast, we're talking about throwing the slider. So, you know, moving from your throw hand, and the ball is going to travel towards the pitcher's glove side. So, you know, if you're pitching to a right-handed batter, it's going to go from inside to outside, and opposite if you're pitching to a lefty. Obviously, we're talking about if you're a right-handed thrower. Jamie, we have you as a lefty, so it's going to do kind of the opposite. So, you know, you talked about a lot of pitches in Pitching 101, so we'll start with you here. You know, talk us through how you grip your slider, and what's the appropriate hand mechanics to really put yourself in a successful position here?
So since our first video, I had to do a couple of different changes to my grip.
People watched and they learned.
Picked up on my curveball. So my new grip is simply this. I'm gonna go seam, middle finger not touching the seam, and thumb on the seam down here. So once again, it's just like that. Front, back. And what I'm trying to do is, it's usually a 2-strike pitch. I like to throw this a lot more than normal. And for a righty, if I throw it outside, it's gonna kind of break in towards the plate. If I throw it towards the middle or the plate, it's gonna break in on the batter, kind of jam you. And if I throw it at the batter, it's just gonna be just a wild pitch. So, you know.
Back them off the plate a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the basics. It's either outside or straight inside, and just depending if it's windy or not, you just kind of see and feel how the pitch works for you that day.
Awesome.
So that's pretty much.
Ski, you hold it a little differently, right?
Yeah, I'm going across the seams, and then my thumb is on the seam here, and I'm like Jamie, I'm trying to throw with 2 strikes, and I try and start it, because I'm right-handed, at the batter, between the front of his feet and the inside corner, to try and get it to drop over right along the inside corner.
Okay.
To try and jam him. If he's thinking he's going to pull it, he might jam himself or hit it foul with 2 strikes to get him out.
So would you say you're trying to get people to think that it's a ball, and potentially either panic or take it for strike 3?
And then they're like, uh-oh, here it comes, and by then they're too late, and they have to either foul it off or take it for a strike.
Okay, great. And Jay-Z, you know, third option?
Yeah, so I have 2 fingers on each seam like that, and then thumb down on the bottom seam here, like that. And so for ASA, I like to bring this pitch out against righties a lot. Sometimes you get a first strike, sometimes with 2 strikes. And I like to start it in on a righty and then have it come across and hit the plate or mat. In most of the ASA leagues, I pitch plate and mat is a strike. And so that helps me, you know, maybe throw the batter off and give them a pitch that they didn't think was going to be a strike. And then the next pitch, I can come in with something like a pitch that starts at the same spot, but maybe doesn't curve this time, and then they might think that it's going to be another curveball. For U-trip, I like to do this intentionally to pitch to an outside, or to pitch to a batter who's going to hit it oppo. And so what I'll do is I'll typically position the 5-man infielder on the right side of the infield, and then by throwing a pitch that kind of starts middle and then comes outside, we're more likely to get a hit to that side of the field, and we're already ready for that.
Gotcha. So you essentially use it as a way to pitch into the defense.
Exactly.
Awesome.
It's a little risky because anytime you pitch outside, if you have batters who are pull heavy and they try to do something with it that they're not used to, they might blow me up the middle, but it's okay.
So one thing I noticed about each one of your grips, right? You got 3 different pitchers, 3 different grips. Everybody is looking to leverage the seams. So talk me through, for a beginner, why is it important for you to have good leverage on those seams, and how is that going to make your pitch more successful?
So for me personally, it is a way to steer where you want the pitch, and it gives you just more control. of the ball as well, so it won't slip out of your hand if it's cold, if it's rainy. You're gonna just have such a good grip that you're gonna be able to easily kind of place it or pitch it towards where you want to.
Okay.
So as opposed to not having any on the seams, it's gonna be kind of slippery, and it's more of a wild card rather than having your fingers tight on the seams.
Gotcha. And you guys want to add anything else to that?
No, I'm the same way.
Same.
I need that grip to get it to move.
And which one of your fingers, right? So you guys have your 3 fingers on it, and you also have your thumb on a seam. Which one of those fingers, if you had to highlight, was like the most important to really get that ball moving?
I think Jamie was talking about the thumb.
The thumb?
Is your rudder.
Okay.
The thumb is your rudder. It's going to steer. When you're going to move the ball, your thumb is going to push. Your
Okay.
thumb is going to steer it this way, so you get the movement, and then she cuts over.
All right, so now that we've talked about how to grip the ball, really focusing on where you're putting your fingers to get the optimal spin to get that ball moving, and as Jay-Z mentioned, some strategy about kind of the time or the place where you might use those pitches. Let's talk about positioning yourself on the mound and the arm action that's really going to start putting that ball into the air and getting it to move the way you want it to. So, you know, anybody want to jump up and just kind of walk us through where you're putting yourself on the rubber, how you're getting yourself into position? You know, are you standing back? Are you going to go full stride forward? And then what you're doing with your arm through the motion.
Go, Jesse.
Yeah,
Jay-Z,
so,
you're here.
So for my grip, not a whole lot of arm action is required out of the ordinary. So I typically don't really do much extra or different arm action. The one thing that I do sometimes that varies is and I do this for righties or lefties, it doesn't really matter, is I'll sometimes step off to the right a little bit. And so for righties, this helps me get a little bit more of the movement from throw hand to glove hand. And so it kind of sweeps a little bit more.
Okay.
And for lefties, it's different, but it comes from outside all the way in, and so it's just a different angle that they're looking at the pitch coming in that they're not usually seeing.
So is that something that you found is important as a pitcher to really change the pitch plane and the angle that it's coming into the batter? Does it help keep them off balance?
Yeah, I think the angle that the ball's coming into the batter is definitely a big factor. I don't change it up that often by standing up off to the side, but if there's a factor like sun setting, maybe for a lefty, then it's even more important to get them at a different angle. And I have had to do that in SF City leagues where the sun is setting as we're pitching.
Mm-hmm. Cool, so just walk us through kind of slow motion, your pitching motion, and what you're kind of thinking of as you're going through and throwing your slider.
Yeah, so I usually hold the ball out like this, I bring it back, and then I release normally. Occasionally I'll twist it a little bit, twist the wrist, but not a whole lot is required with this grip. And then from there, just kind of picking a half of the plate to try to throw it on. If I want it to end up on the outside corner for a righty, I'll usually try to aim it a little bit inside. For a lefty, if I want to jam them on the hands, I pretty much aim for the same spot. If I want to throw a waste pitch with 2 strikes and maybe get a foul out, then I'll usually aim middle, just so it starts out looking like a strike, and then it curves off and is going to be a ball.
Okay.
And if I'm coming on the side, I'll usually kind of plant my right foot, and I'll get down really low, and so it'll be kind of a different arc and a different trajectory, and so the ball will be coming in a little bit faster too by the time it is hitting the ground or even coming through the strike zone.
Okay, so your entire time you're palm up the whole way through?
Yeah.
Gotcha, cool. Now, Jamie, I know that when we were talking before we started shooting the video, you actually start palm up, but you don't finish palm up.
Correct.
So kind of walk us through that, as it's
Sure.
a little bit of a difference.
Sure, so, here's the grip again, and like Jay-Z was saying, it depends if it's a righty or lefty. So if I have a lefty up right now, and 2 strikes is when I like to throw this pitch, I'm gonna also kind of stay on this side of the rubber, but what I will do to mix it up, and especially if it's a bigger hitter and there's 2 outs, I'm gonna start farther back.
Okay.
So I can put myself in a defensive position just in case, but also I can cover second base as well. So I'm gonna start farther back, and also the trajectory of the ball is gonna be way different than opposed to if you're starting up here. And it's gonna be in the air longer, so the batter has a little bit more time to think about the pitch, right? So I'm gonna start back here. And what I'm gonna do is get real low. It's gonna be the same kind of mechanics as I'm throwing any other pitch. I don't want to show them what I'm throwing. So it's just going to be the same thing all the way. And then I'll end up here. So it's here. So like you said, it's not going to be straight. It's going to end up that way.
And like you're mentioning with that thumb, you're really using that thumb to anchor on that seam to spin to get that ball to move.
Right, so I'll have basically 2 pitches with this ball. It's either going to be, let's say a righty's up, so I'm going to go back here. So if I really want to throw it for a strike, I'm going to throw it outside a little bit so it comes back and tails into the plate, and it could be a strike.
Got it.
But if I just want to jam the batter, it's more of a fool me pitch, and he might swing, or she might swing, might not. So I'm going to throw it more inside, so it kind of comes in on the batter, and it's going to buckle them.
Now, one question too. Will you see a difference in the amount of movement you get starting here versus starting back here? Like, do you have a little bit more room to let the ball move?
Yes. Yeah. Plus, it's going to hang in the air more, so it has more time to do some funky stuff.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, absolutely. Here is going to be way different than back here. And especially if there's some wind, that will help move the ball too. So
that brings up an interesting point, and this is kind of for the 3 of you guys. So are there situations where it's disadvantageous to throw this pitch? Like if the wind is blowing in the opposite direction that you want the ball to move, would you not want to throw it because the expectation would be it might just kind of hang flat?
It just depends. Again, so if you do it with 2 strikes and it doesn't fall where you want to, no big deal. Then you could just throw a different pitch the next time. But I just want to see the movement on it that night, and if it's working, I'm going to stick with it.
Gotcha.
If it's not, switch.
Awesome. Ski, give us even a third style of how to throw a slider.
So once again, here's my grip. I'm across the seams, and my thumb is on the seam, so I have the grip. So when I end up pitching, I'm using my thumb. So when I pitch and I release it, I'm not coming completely over. I'm just coming to here. I'm trying to let my thumb just flip it so she ends up turning. I'm letting natural motion do it. Okay. I'm different than they are. I will start back here, and I will try and use, depending on where the batter's standing, the umpire's strike zone if he's got a deeper strike zone, or depending on if my pitches are going a little deeper, then I back up a little bit. I use my front foot on the mound, so that way I can adjust to the umpire's strike zone, or if I'm falling short, or if I'm deep. If I'm falling short, then I move up and I'm here. I'm giving myself more space, but I'm also changing the depth of the ball. So if I'm up here and I have an umpire that's giving me a deeper strike zone and I know I'm falling short, let me move up and let me get it back in the farther corner of the plate or the strike zone so that it throws the batters off. Now they have to adjust to what I'm doing and what the umpire is giving them strike zone wise.
Awesome. Yeah, definite consideration understanding what the zone is for the umpire, because that'll change how you want to position yourself. Anything else you guys want to add about kind of the arm action or the placing on the rubber before we get into actually throwing some real pitches and seeing these things move? All right, let's do it.
So I'm trying to use the thumb as the rudder, as we like to say, and get as much movement on the ball as possible. And kind of turn the wrist over after you pitch and follow through. So it curves into the batter on a righty and away from the batter on a lefty. So I'm gonna move back to get a little bit higher trajectory on the ball. And then I'm gonna move over. It's gonna be a lefty up. I actually wanna go away from and that's gonna tell. So make sure the grip is nice and tight on the seams. I'm gonna go this side. Ooh. And I'm just gonna move back again. So here's the grip. See how it just moves into the batter? Yeah, last one.
Oh! I hope that got audio.
Yeah, so the wind is making it a little bit tough for righties today. as a lefty, Jamie had the wind working with him. Mine are just missing all over the place right now. You know, there's always a day for it. Okay, that one moved a little bit. That moved. That was, yeah, that was good.
Like you said, JG, sometimes you gotta go to the yard and just see what's working that day.
Yeah, I think I'm figuring it out. I'm just pressing a little harder into the seams.
Okay. You're almost forcing it to move a little more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and ordinarily, like, you know, right now I'm doing it for content. Ordinarily though, since it's not working easily the first few, I just would drop it from my repertoire that game. And maybe, you know, maybe try it again warming up the next inning. But, you know, maybe switch to a knuckleball or just switching to placing a regular 4-seam pitch.
That was dirty. Video only shows 3 or 4.
I've gotten about 2 good ones. That one's a strike.
Let's see if we can get something. Yep.
The light breeze is just like you see it starting to move and the breeze is a couple more and it'll figure it out.
Ah, that one I tried to force.
For us. Got you.
That one looked like it wanted to come back over, but it just like stayed.
It's just like holding a line.
Yeah. It's like a slight movement. Trying to really force her. Are we ready? Are we done?
Hey League Nighters, just want to wrap this up here at the end. Gotta have a big thanks to Jay-Z, Uncle Jamie, Ski, all coming out, sharing some of their knowledge of pitching, which of course Jason and I don't have a lot of, with you guys here on the channel. So I want a big thank you to them. I kind of left a lot of the footage in here of the pitching at the end. I know it's a little bit hard to see because of the camera angles and that sort of thing, but I can tell you that a lot of the balls are really moving left to right, right to left out there in the wind. So it was pretty cool to see that happening. I left a lot of that extra footage in just so you kind of see the guys working through getting it to work for the day, kind of seeing the process. So that way everybody knows that, you know, they don't just go out, throw the first one of the day and it's perfect. They kind of work on it, get warmed up, get that pitch really moving before they kind of get it locked in for the day. So again, just to give a little encouragement to everybody out there that's trying this out. If you don't throw it the first time, if you don't throw it the second time, and you got to really work at it to get it moving, that's totally fine. These things take practice just like every other part of softball. So really hope you guys enjoyed it. Get out there, throw some sliders, get some strikeouts, or get people hitting where they don't want to hit. So thanks a lot again, everybody. Please like and subscribe to the videos here. We really appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time.